What is up, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of the 2 Game Podcast. I am finally closing out Daredevil's Netflix series with Season 3. And after reviewing Season 2 last night, I need a palate cleanser. And as I mentioned in that review, I said, look, I'm going to do the exact opposite of what I do for Season 2 for Season 3, where basically I am just going to be jerking off Season 3 of Daredevil for 15 to 20 minutes because I fucking love Season 3. So going into this season, I was very curious. I had very fond memories of this season when it originally came out. I didn't know whether I liked 1 or 3 more, but I leaned towards 3. And after all these years going back to it, I was like, man, am I still going to have that same opinion of 3, especially after watching Season 2? And watching all these seasons back to back to back just further confirms that Daredevil Season 3 is just about perfect. And I want to go ahead and get the negativity out the way. Really, the main thing and the only thing that I hate about Season 3, and it's a little bit of a rant, so I'm sorry in advance, but I want to get that out the way before I just really start raving about how amazing Season 3 is. And the thing that I hate the most about Season 2 is the interconnected storylines that affected the very beginning of Season 3. So similar to what happened in Season 2, we bring in Frank Castle, the Punisher, and in order to get Frank Castle's full story, so let's say you are a huge Punisher fan and you didn't really watch Daredevil and you were only interested in the Punisher series. Well, in order to get his full story, you had to watch Daredevil Season 2. And in order to really understand what the hell was going on in Season 2, you had to watch Daredevil Season 1. So you have to watch all these other shows in order to just watch one character and his full developmental arc. And when you go from Season 2 to Season 3, let's say you don't know anything about the Defenders or anything like that, you are absolutely fucking lost when you start Season 3. I was not going to watch the Defenders, okay? I did know that there was the Defenders in between 2 and 3, so I thought there was going to be some storyline issues that I was going to have to just catch up on. But my God, it is worse than what I originally thought. Back in the day when this originally aired, I had watched the Defenders beforehand, so I did have that backstory of what happened in that spinoff series. But going from Daredevil Season 1, 2, and then straight into 3, you are absolutely lost at the first couple of episodes of Season 3. And it's kind of frustrating how interconnected it was that if you were to just to jump from 2 to 3, you're completely fucking lost. And that really, really frustrated me. And it's the one thing that prevents Season 3 from being a 10 out of 10. Like, I shouldn't have to go watch The Defenders. I really don't. Like, especially if the show sucks, which I vaguely remember the Defenders being like okay, and it involved a lot of the Hand and Elektra. And to me, not to jump on the train to rant about Season 2 again, but I wasn't a fan of that storytelling and the Hand and Elektra in Season 2. I sure as shit did not want to continue that storyline into the Defenders. So the fact that I had to watch that in order to get the backstory on what's going on at the very beginning of 3, I was just really pissed off, gonna be honest with you, because if they would have had these moments in Season 3, you could put this up there with some of the best TV series of all time, I think, especially best seasons of all time. And the fact that it all kind of undercuts the whole Karen finding out that Matt is Daredevil thing. Like, we find that out at the very end of 2. And then, again, I haven't seen Defenders in a long time, but apparently that storyline gets further explored in Defenders. And that leaves the start of Season 3, like, kind of confusing. Like, personally, I wish they would have started Season 3 with her finding out that he was Daredevil. And then, I don't know, a huge accident happens, maybe Wilson Fisk is involved. And then it starts, like, where he's at with this season, where he's just absolutely fucking broken, and he's just not Matt Murdock anymore. He has pushed that aside, and he's living this I'd rather die as Daredevil than live as Matt Murdock attitude. And I wish they would have started with that rather than, oh, a building fell on him and the Defenders, and now here we are. Like, I shouldn't have to go watch a spinoff series in order to figure out, wait, what the hell happened with him in between 2 and 3? Like, for people that don't know about the Defenders and all that and the interconnected universes, it's very confusing as to where Matt is. And that is legitimately my biggest issue with season 3. And honestly, probably my only issue. Now that that's out the way, let's talk about why I love season 3. Season 3 is like the antithesis of season 1 and season 2. Season 1 and season 2, so much action. Yeah, and they throw in some drama in there. The seasons, for the most part, kind of feel a little disjointed, especially season 2. And it's some like one-off adventures and whatnot, right? Season 3, to me, is like this controlled, contained story. It's like they went in with, okay, we have this arc of the Born Again storyline. Let's adapt that into one full season. And then that's what they fucking did. And that's what they focused on. They didn't add in any other storylines. They didn't add in the Defender season 2 or Jessica Jones, whatever. They didn't include in the Punisher or anything of that nature. It was strictly, let's focus on Daredevil. Let's get down to the basics and kind of strip away everything and really try to explore what the character of Daredevil is and what it means to not only fans around the world, but to the comics and to these characters. And I think that's where they really nailed this season. I mean, hell, we get Wilson Fisk back into the mix, which was very much welcomed, and he's out of prison. And again, Vincent D'Onofrio is perfect as Kingpin. Nobody else should ever play Kingpin except Vincent D'Onofrio. Like, I'm so glad that he's coming back for Born Again and that Marvel decided not to recast him because he is Wilson Fisk. He was just perfectly casted as this character. And I love what some of the things that they're doing with him in this season. Now, a couple of things didn't really work. I didn't like the whole, because Bullseye gets brought into the season, which was, at first, I wasn't crazy about his character. And this kind of highlights actually a huge compliment that I have with this particular season. And we'll kind of dive into it in just a minute, is at first, you don't think these things are really working. Like, you're not really invested in some of these characters. And then as the season progresses, you find yourself like, damn, I really am invested in this storyline. Like, it definitely took a little while to get going, but it was like a slow burn, so to speak. And these storylines have really come together, and I really like where these characters have gone. And that's with just about all of the characters. But they brought in Bullseye, and they had Wilson Fisk in there, kind of like in his subconscious, and he was kind of just walking around and watching his like past. I didn't think that was executed as good as it could be, but I didn't mind it because it did give us some backstory on Bullseye. But and it kind of changed things up a little bit in comparison to just having a flashback. So I didn't really mind it. I just think they could have executed that a little bit better. But for the most part, everything with Wilson Fisk was executed perfectly outside of that. I think they were able to further develop his character throughout the season, where he is, again, it's not just him being in love with Vanessa, but he's also to this point where he's not really here anymore to save the city. Like, it's not as in your face as it was in season 1. This time around, it's all about bringing Vanessa back home and making sure she has this perfect life. And then she's not coming back as this character that's just going to be some just run-of-the-mill side character who's just like the girlfriend of the big boss guy, okay? I hate it when that happens, when they bring in these females and they're just throwaway characters. Now, she doesn't come back until like the very end of season 3, but when she comes back, she makes a really great impression because she comes back and says, no. I'm not here to just be your wife. Like, we're going to run shit and we're going to kill people together. And she kind of takes the throne next to him. And I really appreciate that they kind of elevated her character more so this season than they did in season 1. The other character that I was not too thrilled with at the very beginning of the season, but she progressively got so much better. And I made this complaint in my season 2 review, and that was Karen, where I felt like they didn't know what to do with her at all during season 2. Well, they figured it out in season 3, especially towards the back end of the season. An entire episode devoted to her and her backstory. And I think at first when you watch that episode, you're like, we're getting a backstory episode from Karen, like towards the end of this season. Like, what is this? Why are we getting this now? And you don't realize how much you wanted and needed that episode until it happened. And I really do love that episode. It gives us, again, further character development of her, and it just kind of highlights some of the things that I really loved about her character. And in order to fall in love with her character even more, you got to know where she came from. And I think they make her character, like, it's a relatable character because she's very much a flawed character. So I think she's very easy to love, and how she's written is just done so well throughout this season. But it wasn't just Karen. I want to throw some prompts to the Agent Nadim storyline because I had several notes and a few different episodes where I was like, man, I really wish that this Agent Nadim storyline was freaking going somewhere, because like I said, I've only seen season 3 once, and that was when it was originally aired, and I completely forgot everything that was done with him in season 3. So throughout the first several episodes, I'm like, man, like, the one big issue that I have with season 3 might just be this Agent Nadim storyline, because I don't feel like it's really going anywhere, and it doesn't feel all that interesting to me. And then it's just like all of a sudden it just flips when he starts cracking, and when he basically gets framed for murder. That's when his character really does a 180 and just becomes this character that you just can't help but root for, because that Agent Nadim storyline just felt so bland at first. But god damn it, guys, I really enjoy where they took that character at the very end, and the amount of tension in that scene where he's in the house where Fisk sent people to kill him, and then Daredevil shows up and Matt ends up showing him his face, and they did a great job of developing him when his death really crushes you at the very end. And like, I really wanted a good ending for that dude, but I don't know of how that storyline could have gone a different way. So I'm perfectly okay with how it ended. It's just like, damn, I really wanted him to come out of this alive. Now, all those characters are great. Like, I don't think there's really just a shitty character in Daredevil, period, especially season 3. But we got to talk about one guy, and that is the main guy, Daredevil himself. If you watch this series back to back to back, his storyline felt a little stale, like going in, like at the end of season 2. It felt like, okay, where are we taking this character, like in the future? Like, how can we highlight different aspects of that character and continue to make him interesting? And I thought that they did a great job this season of doing something different, and that is showing him at his most vulnerable, showing him at his most broken. And the fact that he's driven away from God, and that's been his thing from season 1 and season 2, is, okay, he uses this morality, this, I'm not going to kill anybody, I'm going to beat you to an inch of your life, but I'm not going to kill you. That's what makes me different in comparison to everybody else. And all of that just drives him towards the climax of the season, where he is willing to kill Fisk. And he tries to do it Foggy's way, where he tries to put him back in jail that way, the right way. But when it fails, he goes after Fisk, and he's able to find his way back again to God and to his friends. And I thought that was done very, very well, because he basically goes to the very edge of the darkness. He doesn't completely cross the line, but he's almost there, where he is going to regret for the rest of his life for killing Fisk, and he is able to stop at the last second. I just love that the morality of Daredevil is tested every season, but this really seems like the conclusion of an arc. Matt was so defiant against Punisher last season, and this season he has finally descended into that abyss and ready to kill Fisk, but just a really good arc conclusion when he finally decides to not kill Fisk at the very end. And then even though that this season maybe feels a little slower with like a lot less action, which we'll jump into in just a second, I think the pacing of the season is just masterfully done. I think it's so much better than season 1 and season 2. It just felt like we were getting the same fight over and over in the first 2 seasons, and the fight and action sequences here just mean more. They look different. The in-between character moments really shine more so here because it's given time to breathe, and the action scenes are just that much better because we care more for the characters this time around. Now, I love the incorporation of Bullseye into the series. I think his fight choreography and his fight style just matches so well with Daredevil that it makes those scenes way more interesting than anything else. Like, it's Daredevil having to think on his feet. Like, when you think about it, Daredevil doesn't really fight a whole lot of just minions this season. He is fighting mostly Bullseye and Wilson Fisk. And I know he has the prison scene, which we'll talk about in just a second. But I feel like the fact that we didn't get as many of those fights, those little side fights with minions and Fisk and his goons, I think that highlights just how well the action sequences are, because now he's going toe-to-toe with villains that are equally as strong or as violent as he is. So they're having to do better choreography with him and Bullseye rather than him just beating some minions to a pulp. Which leads me to the prison riot sequence. Holy fucking shit. This is, and I'm not joking, guys, might be one of the best sequences, not in just the Marvel Cinematic Universe or in TV or anything like that. Like TV, movies, superhero comic book movies, you can put this up there with the best sequences all time, not just in those specific genres. The long take, which is almost 11 minutes long, is legit the best thing that has ever happened in Daredevil, and I would put it up there with anything that has happened in Marvel, period. And according to the director of the episode and the producers, this is a legit one-take sequence with no hidden cuts. They wanted to make sure that the viewers didn't ever think of, okay, well, they probably put a cut right there. So they did lighting and positioning to make you aware that, hey, this is absolutely legit. And to have a long take of 11 minutes is one thing. An action sequence in a prison with a riot going on, and it being not only just a huge action set piece, and in the very middle of it, they're having a conversation between characters that is kind of furthering the plot line and pushing it forward. And then continuing the action set piece is a completely different thing. Like, that to me elevates this scene and the sequence to one of the best of all time because of that. The fight choreography is just so damn good. Like, he looks absolutely exhausted going through all of these prisoners, and I love how he'll catch his breath for like a second, and then like 2 seconds later, he can barely walk or breathe again because he has more goons coming and trying to fight him and kill him. The prison riot sequence is absolute perfection, and it's a 10 out of 10. I don't know of how they could have done it any better, and it is legitimately one of my favorite things ever done in a Marvel TV show, movie, whatever. And again, I think this season definitely doesn't have the amount of action set pieces that season 1 and season 2 has, but to me, it is done so much better. And even with the limited amount of fights that we have, I think it serves season 3 better that it happened like this versus sprinkling in this similar set piece after similar set piece, and oh my god, now it looks all the freaking same yet again. And then we also have them in better lighting, so it's just, to me, everything was just done so much better in season 3, especially when it comes to the action. And the fact that they give us limited set pieces lets them create different set pieces, and it's not just the same one over and over again. We're able to sprinkle in different ones that look great, like the highway scene when Matt is trying to get Nadim to the courthouse. Like, that was a really great set piece right there that we never would have gotten in season 1 and season 2, and it's also in broad daylight. And then they give us the stuff with Kingpin in his penthouse, and then the one in the bulletin. That was also absolutely fantastic because it's Daredevil and Bullseye fighting it off, and Daredevil is getting his ass kicked throughout that entire sequence. And I just thought it was all done masterfully. I can't help but sit here and wonder what could have been if they would have kind of done this same structure with season 1 and 2. If those seasons, like how different those seasons would have turned out. But nonetheless, guys, season 3 is just about perfect. The only thing that, again, I would say is wrong with season 3 is the fact that at the first like 2, maybe 3 episodes, there are a lot of things that I'm just like, wait, what the fuck happened? I had to watch The Defenders in order to figure that out. That's dumb. And a lot of it revolves around Foggy, Karen, and Matt, and that relationship and them knowing that he is Daredevil. Outside of that, it's pretty easy to follow along. But still, I really hate that you have to go watch another show in order to catch up on why your characters are acting different, or the fact that they know things now that they didn't know in season 2, kind of thing. But guys, that is going to be it for me. Let me know down in the comments below of what you thought about Daredevil season 3. Where does it rank on your Daredevil rankings? Is it your favorite, your least favorite? I know some people that prefer season 1. I will die on the hill that season 3 is the absolute best Daredevil season, period, and it's not even close. Like, as good as season 1 is, I don't think it comes anywhere close to how great season 3 is. And I really hope that Born Again blows season 3 out the water. Like, I really hope that it does. I don't know if it will. Because season 3 is legitimately just about perfect. But guys, that is going to be it for me. Next up, we are going to start watching Daredevil Born Again. I'm going to be reviewing every single episode of Born Again season 1, season 4. I don't know. The marketing behind that is super confusing. Like, is it season 4 or is it season 1? I don't know. But regardless, we're going to be doing reviews by episode, and then I will cap off the season with a full season review when it's all said and done. But guys, that's going to be it for me. I will catch y'all next time on another episode. Laters.